Gamingbolaget Embracer har precis släppt sin kvartalsrapport och vinsten den är något bättre än väntat. Samtidigt så är det första kvartalet efter avknoppningen av Coffee Stain. Och med oss så har vi Phil Rogers, bolagets vd. Så jag switchar över till engelska. Good morning, Phil.
Good morning.
Good morning. Well, this is your first quarter since the spin-off of Coffee Stain. Could you please tell us your key highlights of the quarter?
Yeah, thanks for that. Well, we're happy with the performance. We saw our core IPs drive an outperformance, and we managed to increase our underlying forecast now for the remainder of the fiscal year. We believe we have strong execution against our key priorities, strategic priorities, which we've outlined in previous quarters. And we really feel like our long-term direction now is taking shape. Obviously, the spin-outs, first of Asmodee and then of Coffee Stain, have been very significant events for us. And now we're, as you say, with Coffee Stain done in December, we really feel like, we've got our strategies lining up and we can execute.
Yes, there is a negative organic sales figure. Can you please explain and what is behind that number?
Yeah, so we have some tough comps still. We had some divested assets. So EasyBrain in particular is still contributing to comps this quarter, and they're tough comps then after that disposal of EasyBrain. But you're right, there is an 8% organic drop. Actually, we see that in fairness across all of our segments, but EasyBrain is a big component of that. We've got some strong comps also in our Play on Partners business, with seasonality from fiscal 2025. But overall, every segment delivered ahead of our expectations. We expected and we saw the seasonal uplifts coming through. So we're happy with where we've landed at Q3.
And what is your explanation to the, or view maybe perhaps, on the gaming sector overall, especially with the AI pressure in the market?
Yeah, I mean, AI is, it's a good pressure, AI. I mean, I think it's an industry, firstly, it's always been very fast to adopt, and really lean in hard with technology. So there's no surprise to us. Obviously, AI now is a super powerful potential technology for us. I think the gaming sector, it's a growing sector. More and more people around the world are playing games. There's generations of people that have played games from young ages through to senior ages now. They're having children, grandchildren. So gaming, of course, as a sector is one of tremendous growth and opportunity. Lots of different, components of that industry have opened up in front of us, as we've seen over the past years or so. So very exciting, very dynamic. AI to us is a technology we really believe in. We've got a lot of fast experiments going on now within our production teams on how we get quicker prototyping, concept work. Of course, we also believe, AI we have to adopt with responsibility as well and discipline. We still believe this is a human creation, that, AI is the co-pilot. It is not the pilot for our work, but we're happy to have it on board.
Will AI lower the barriers to entry for other game studios to produce the AAA games?
I'm not sure creativity. I mean, DeepMind dropped its Genie 3, a demo a couple of weeks ago now, which was a big beat, a big surprise. I'm sure a lot of people, AAA creators, small game creators, non-game creators have played around in Genie to see, its potential at early stage. So I think it's a very democratic tool from that point of view. But there are certain skills then for creating, that level of entertainment property. And that's what we feel is a key advantage for us. It's rather like saying when phones started having cameras, everyone could suddenly produce a movie like Steven Spielberg. It changed the market in some way, but those core skills on movie production and movie creativity are still very evident and seen. And it's the same thing with video games, I believe. But, we think it's a powerful thing.
Will it lead to a higher increase in competition?
For sure. And we embrace competition. I think it's great to see what other teams are doing, and for our teams themselves to feel that competition too. And that's not a new thing. Competition in video games has always been there, and I think it's it's good to be in a competitive market because it keeps us on our toes. And when I walk around our studios and see what people think and they're working on, I think it's good to have that level of competition.
And speaking of AI, as we were talking, I noticed also the mobile gaming, they declined 15% organic in the quarter. Do you think mobile games will be particularly challenging in this new environment? And if it's easier to develop?
I think there's certainly a lot of opportunities with AI within mobile. I mean, our decline, the organic decline you're referring to, is really it's really a trend coming off a lower investment against user acquisition costs or UACs. Over this time, our business in mobile has changed its size and shape. Again, that reflects the divestment of EasyBrain. But we've got a number of titles now which are building. It's hard to predict sometimes with mobile how you build and how you scale. So Glow, Fashion Idol from our team at Crazy Labs, and that's been one we've been scaling very carefully but very diligently. And as we see that UAC now begin to hit, we think that scale will come back. And we're confident on its development.
You're adjusting your guidance at the same time. Can you maybe perhaps give us some color to that?
Well, we've seen obviously some upside coming through this third quarter, so ended December. And we're pleased to talk about that today. I think now we're close to the end of the fiscal year. We're mid-February now. So it's a modest increase. We just wanted to be clear on that. That's where we see this year now landing. A lot of people are working hard to deliver against that number and even potentially ahead of that number. We just wanted to make that clear in our news.
And regarding the world-class IPs that you have, such as Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, how do you view the balance between internal development and the potential of the long-term recurring revenue through third-party licensing and royalties?
I think it's a wonderful balance that we'll find. I think firstly for us, we're a creative business, so we have a lot of creative studios and opportunities ourselves to really push behind now with Lord of the Rings and with other IPs that we can mention too. This really is something that motivates our teams every day to work within such venerable sort of creative spaces. And it's very exciting to be amongst. But licensing out is also an opportunity for us. Certainly in other categories, you've seen this quarter or earlier, in Q3, we announced the partnership with Asmodee, which of course, recently was a subsidiary, and now it's a sort of more of a sister company or in the family, at least in terms of history. And that category management that Asmodee brings in board games is really important for us. So I think we'll strike that right balance, and that's our approach.
And are you prioritizing the high margin royalty streams from external partners over the high risk models of developing all Middle Earth titles within your own studios?
I think it's too early to say right now, how that will exactly play out, but we believe we'll find that right balance. There's no shortage of people coming forward with creative pitches and treatments. I think if we really think creatively about the Middle Earth, we call it a creative space. Where do we see our efforts going into? Where could we see complementary creative efforts delivering within? We think it's a very exciting space for us to plan and execute against, and that will include both internal and external, of course.
And what will drive growth from here?
Oh, further execution as we've been doing. We've got our slate. We've got an exciting slate of games ahead of us. We've got one major unannounced, in-house developed and in-house published title that we can see as we look forward to next fiscal year. This will be a major title for us. We've got a number of smaller titles, but yet very exciting titles too. That coupled with our operational discipline, some of the consolidation activities now that we're going, I think this is going to drive significant growth for us in the future.
Could you elaborate a bit on the timeline of your releases as well? Are there any delays to the projects?
Well, there's always some risk of shifting, and that's part of the world that we're in. Gothic, which is a remake, today actually announced that it's moved slightly out from earlier, which might have been a Q4 game for us, but it's moved more into the summer. I think June 5th was announced this morning. But that's always part of the planning that we're responsible for. But no, I think as we look forward, we're just trying to get that slate sort of locked down now as we look forward with as much surety as we can.
And how has your strategy changed to launch more successfully since you've had a couple of soft launches before?
Well, I think there's ever more data that we can read into how games are trending. We talked about AI. I think AI can play an important role going forward in terms of that final testing, how we're reading sort of social media trends, etc. So I think there's different ways that we can begin to lean into that, and we're showing through launches like Kingdom Come: Deliverance 2, which launched just over a year ago now. I think we really planned and the team really prepared and did a fantastic job for that. Their dedication and discipline was amazing. And we've seen today, we've announced now that title has achieved over 5 million copies. That's an amazing milestone for us. And of course, we push beyond that now. So I think there's learnings that we are trying to really replicate and build within the business as we tighten our focus and share. So yeah, lots to look forward to.
And so what is your focus for into 2026?
Well, delivering on what we said. We've got to get our core pipeline, increased investments into what we're defining as core IPs. Today, we've shared data that we've moved sort of between 20 to 40% of our capex, our capital expenditure, into an IP group that we would consider more core. And as we look forward, we see that increasing up to 80%. So I think that's what we call longer term planning. And that's certainly focus for me. Games that are coming out next year, might have been conceived 3 or 4 years before now. So the things that we're doing today really will start really seeing, 4 or 5 years from this point. So that's really my focus right now.
Thank you, Phil. Över till dig, Nike.
It's the right creative. Okay.
Stort tack för det, Kelly. Vi ska gå från Embracer till kurspressade cybersäkerhetsbolaget Yubico där vi ser en vinstkollaps. Ebit-resultat uppgick till 6,5 miljoner kronor. Det här är ett rejält tapp från nästan 111 miljoner i jämförelsekvartalet. Ebit-marginalen 1,2%. Det här att jämföra då med 17,8% samma period för ett år sedan. Orderingången minskade med 8,7% och orderingången drevs då främst av små och medelstora affärer medan antalet stora kontrakt var färre än föregående år. Det här tycker jag är spännande eftersom att det här var någonting som man pratade mycket om redan i förra kvartalet. Då var det Mattias Danielsson som pratade om det. Han har sedan dess fått sparken och nu har vi med oss bolagets tillförordnade vd Jerrod Chong och jag byter till engelska. Welcome to the show. The profit is declining. How come?
So the first thing that I want to set the stage is we look at the Q4 report. It's our strongest booking in local currencies ever at Yubico. And when we look at peel back the numbers a little bit and we look at what's happening, profitability has a lot to do with FX and has a lot to do with timing of the orders and translating it over to the net sales. So if you look at the fundamentals in terms of how we grow the business, our small and medium-sized deals are really growing and we have a lot more subscription orders. So I wouldn't look at it in isolation, looking at just the profitability.
But your successor said last quarter that there was a delay in large orders. We're not seeing the large orders now either. When are they coming?
I mean, large orders, they take time. And sometimes it all hits at the same time and sometimes they spread out. What we're trying to do is to build up a very strong base in terms of small, medium-sized deals. And also because they actually had a high velocity of conversion into our revenues. And what we want to do is to focus our attention to bringing more large deals in the pipeline so that we have a a balance of all these different large deals, and they can close at different times, and we still get the uplift. So our focus really is about building a much stronger pipeline for large deals, so that we're not just dependent on 1 or 2 deals that really changes the numbers in the quarter. Again, what we want to build is like the small, medium-sized deals get a good base foundation, and large deals are the icing, and that's really our commitment.
I like the icing on the cake. We spoke about profit initially, and the margins, it's at 1.2% in this quarter. Is there anything in peculiar that's behind this, or is it just FX and, like the perfect storm?
It's a bit of the perfect storm, but I'll peel back a little bit on the layers, which is we made some investments. We've made some investments in the sales and marketing organization. And the reason why we do that is that we're expanding globally. So I'm actually heading to Singapore in 3 weeks, and we have an opening HQ in the region. And when you open up a new hub, you need to put boots on the ground. And so these investments are necessary because we want to expand our entire portfolio of where we do business. And so that came in really at a timing when some of these FX also hit. So I would say that what we want to do in 2026 is to make sure we get the maximum efficiencies of the investments we made in 25, and be very, very selective with our investments as we go into 26.
But so can you say anything about what kind of margin development we can expect for this year or for the coming quarters?
I don't want to say the things that has implications because of the FX situation, because things can change quite drastically. We've seen a much aggressive weakening of the US dollars, and we do business. We have 70% of that doing business in the US. So we have provided a range, and I rather we look at that holistically in terms of where we're going to go and take away a little bit of FX conversation, because the underlying business is strong. I've been working a lot with the customer base, and that is a very strong base for us.
And can you elaborate a little bit about how customers are behaving at this point?
I spend a lot of time with customers, and our customers really believe in our long-term partnership. What we want to do is obviously want to partner with them with long-term contracts. So our commitment is to deliver more products with value so that they want to partner with us on bigger projects and longer projects.
And you were appointed acting CEO in December. What has been most acute, in your opinion, to focus on?
I think every time you take the reins, you have to assess everything. We have a very strong customer base. So I'm very, very, very bullish with the customer base and being with us through some of these times, but we're going to execute on our product strategy. I think where we have room for really refinement and closing the gaps are the focus on the large deals, focus on our efficiency on the investments we made in 2025.
Do you have a timeline and focus on to when you will be able to execute on these goals?
We're executing them now. We had several announcements of products, as you've seen even in January. We had one 2 days ago. We delivered a Yubico that was very focused 2 days ago to the Spanish market. It's a big certification that you need to do to sell to that market for regulated governments and industries. So you're going to see those things start to hit our launch timelines, and it's going to be much more regular with a predictable cadence, and that's when we will see the growth happens, when we get the products out and the customer realize the value.
And last but not least, would you be interested in becoming the permanent CEO of Yubico?
Absolutely. I've been at the company for 12 years, and nothing would make me happier to really build the company for another 12 years.
So this is an interesting story that continues to develop. Looking forward to what happens next. Thank you so much, Jerrod Chong, for being with us here on the show.
Thank you so much.
Och ett tack också till er tittare. Vi är tillbaka alldeles strax. Den här morgonen är det många rapporter som ni märker och Börsfrukost drar igång redan 8:30. Det innehåller också en intervju med Nibes vd Gert-Erik Lindqvist. Hoppas ni är med oss strax.